Welcome back, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in to my second episode of Mr. K's 30 Minutes of Math. I really appreciate you all coming back, and if you're new to the lessons, well, welcome aboard. I will say yesterday wasn't quite, but it also wasn't quite. So we're gonna try to keep aiming higher as I evolve my Zoom skills and continue to flex and grow my teacher muscles. So before we get started today, I want to revisit our brain teaser that we had at the end of yesterday's lesson. And so let me pull that up here in 1 second. And let's see if I can pull that off. Here we go. All right. So we had 9 dots, as you can recall, that, and the goal was to connect them with 4 straight lines without picking your pen or pencil or marker off the paper. And so I imagine we had a lot of attempts that looked something like this. Maybe the first try was, all right, 1, 2, 3, uh-oh, what do I do now? 4, not quite there. Maybe there was an attempt, let me start down here, that went 1, 2, 3, 4. Still missing 1 dot there. Might have been an attempt, maybe you thought, okay, let's start in the middle. 1, 2, 3, 4. Nope, that doesn't quite work either. So the answer, or at least one of the answers that I know of, is a truly outside the box kind of answer. And so here is a solution. So this is 1. I never said you couldn't go outside the lines. Here's 2. Here's 3. And finally, here is 4. Now, I know those lines aren't exactly straight, but you get the idea. Just an example of how you gotta sometimes think a little bit differently about the challenges before you. So there you go, 4 straight lines. Try it out on a friend, a neighbor, do it over Zoom or FaceTime at least, and let's dive in. So I'm gonna come back, and again, thank you so much for those of you who worked on the riddle. Before we start, I do want to show you where to find resources that I'm using on our website. So I am going to do that right now. And let's see if we can make that happen. And so I'm gonna go to right here, our homepage. So whoops, my apologies. I'm still getting the hang of this. This is our homepage, and I'm gonna cut off my video so that you can focus on that. rvaschools.net, rvaschools.net. Again, this is where we have all of our information about our response to the coronavirus. Again, rvaschools.net. And here's where you get all the information that I've been talking about. So you click down here, it takes you to the main page for our response. By the way, here's where you find out about meals and other information. If you click on the at-home learning resources, right here, at-home learning resources, and it takes you to this great page, which, by the way, has so much great stuff on it for different grade levels. I encourage you to take a look at it. It has your Clever login for kids to get into Reflex Math and all those other great resources. But right here, they made a wonderful link to my lesson. So if you just click right there, it takes you, voila, right to the resources that I have been using. So you'll see this is grade 4, you see on the upper right there, unit 5, grade 4, unit 5, and this is lesson 1 that we started with yesterday. Those of you who were with me yesterday, we started with this problem, and really this whole series of lessons, for the beginning anyway, is about decomposing fractions. That means breaking up fractions into their little parts. It's sort of like this. You're very, very welcome. So decomposing fractions, breaking up fractions into their individual parts. So here's what we're gonna do to kind of refresh our memory from yesterday. I'm gonna go to page 9. So if you wanna download it, you can print it out. Here we are, page 9. And I'm gonna go to G, letter G rather. And I wanna do this one together. So as a reminder, what we're doing is we're gonna show the shaded part as a number sentence, and we're gonna show it as a number bond as well. So I am going to attempt to use our annotation skills here. So let's see if I can pull this off. Here we go. So first, let's look at this. And we talked yesterday about the whole and parts. So if you look right here, you'll see the whole, and I'm gonna actually circle it. Let's see if I can do that. Is, and let's make sure we got red. This is the whole. And you know that because of this bracket right here with the number 1. So this is our whole. And then this part over here is some extra. So let me maybe circle that in blue. So our whole is defined by this bracket right here. That's one whole. And then we have some extra here. And so the question is, what kind of fractions are we dealing with? So you might initially say, oh, well, look, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pieces. So it must be fifths, but it's not fifths because our whole is right here, and our whole has how many pieces? 1, 2, 3. Again, our whole, this is our whole, has 3 pieces. 1, 2, 3. That means we are talking about thirds. So let me see if I can write that in. 1/3, another third, and another third. That also means down here, we're still talking about thirds. So I have another one, and I have another one. 1/3, 1/3, 1/3, another third, and another third. All right, so, and that should make sense because 3/3, 1, 2, 3 makes 1 whole. Now let's look at our brackets down here. And I'm going to see if I can erase, let's try this. I'm gonna erase that for now and that for now. Oh, great, that worked. Okay, so let's go back to my drawing. We have one bracket right here, right here. Okay, so that means we have a third and another third. So how many thirds do we have? Well, that's 2 of them, 2 thirds. And then we have another bracket right here, 1 right here. Again, 1/3 and 1/3. So how many thirds do we have? 2 more. And then if you look at this bracket here, we have just 1/3 left. Oops, I've missed my line here. By the way, some people ask me, is it okay to write it like this? Or does it have to be like this? These are both okay. They mean the exact same thing, so don't worry about that. They're both good. I'm just gonna move these out of the way so we don't get confused. Okay, So now the question is, what is our number sentence? How do we put it all together? So we have 2/3 here, 2/3 here, and 1/3 here. So how many thirds do we have? Well, let's add them up. 2/3, that's these guys. 2 more, that's these guys. That's 4. And then 1 more, that's that one, which gives us 5/3. And that should make sense because look, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, 5/3. Now, folks might have learned the algorithm around how do you change 5/3 into a whole number with some extra thirds. And that should make sense to us now because remember, how many wholes did we start with? 1. And how many thirds did we have left over? 1, 2. So 5/3 is the same as 1 and 2/3. 5/3 is the same as 1 whole with 2/3 left over. All right, now what I would like you to do, I'm gonna go back to my mouse, is, sorry, I didn't mean to move all that, friends. I would like you to go ahead and take 2 minutes to work on H, this one down here. So go ahead, figure out what is the unit fraction amount we are using. So be really thoughtful about that. Look at what our whole is, and then go ahead and label it. Show your number sentence. We'll hold off on the number bond for right now. Let's just do the number sentence. Okay, take about 2 to 3 minutes to work on that, and then let's rejoin. Okay, everybody, let's come on back and try H. Hopefully you had some success, but if you didn't, that is okay. Getting things wrong is all part of the fun. That's how we learn. That means your brain is growing. So let's start off, and how about we use blue? I'm gonna use blue this time. And the very first thing we want to think about is what is our whole? Here it is, 1 whole, and it's this bracket right here. Okay, so our whole is this. Sorry for my lumpy circle. All right, so that's our whole, and so that means that determines what our unit fractions are and how many equal parts, remember they have to be equal, There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So our unit fractions, if we have 8 equal pieces, are eighths. So I'm going to draw them in. It's a little bit harder to do that 8, but you get the idea. Whew, that one's a little lumpy. Sorry, friends. And we're almost there. This is another eighth. So far, 1/8. That's a second one, a third one, a fourth one, a fifth one. Here's our 6th one. And here's our 7th one. And if all works out, we should have one more for 8. There it is. There's our 8th one. Okay, now that should make sense because 8/8 gives us our 1 whole. Okay, I'm going to erase this big circle just so we have a little bit more room. There are our eighths, and these guys, what are these? Are these fourths? Are these ninths? Are these halves? No, these are more eighths because they are the same size. These are all equal parts. And since we defined what our whole is, now we know what all of these equal parts are. Okay, so again, here's our whole. We have eighths. Let's look at our brackets on the bottom. This bracket first. We have 2 of our eighth pieces. So how many eighth pieces do we have? Well, we have 2. Cool. Now let's go to the next bracket right here. Again, 2 eighth pieces. So how many eighths? 2. Whew, that line wasn't the best. And that that 8 is a little bit lopsided. My apologies. All right, here's the next bracket. Again, how many eighth pieces do we have? Same thing, 2. I think what I'm going to do is get a stylus, which is going to help me write better. All right, now, ooh, this is an interesting one. Here's this bracket. Here it is. It covers 1, 2, 3, 4 of our eighths. You see that? Let me count them again for you. 1, 2, 3, 4, which means that's 4 eighths. And then we have this little lonely guy at the end with this little bracket down here. So 1 more eighth. All right, now let's add these up. We have 2 eighths here, and we're going to add 2 more here, and 2 more here, and 4 more there, and then 1 at the end. So we have 2 eighths and 2 more eighths. That's 4 eighths. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2 more gives us 6. 4 more gives us 10. And 1 more gives us 11 eighths. Now let's see if that actually works. Let's count these out just in the old-fashioned way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Ta-da! Let me see if I can give us, what's the ta-da sound? I'm gonna mess this up. Let me see. Nope, that's the ding sound. All right, well, 11 eighths. That's what we've got. But now let's show that representing our whole. So remember, we have 1 whole. And how many eighths extra do we have? 1, 2, 3. 1 and 3 eighths. Now you may have learned, and if you're an adult, you almost certainly learned, that the way to turn this 1 and 3 eighths into this 11 eighths is you multiply 8 times 1, which is 8, plus 3, which is 11, and then you put it over the denominator, which is 8. And that is exactly right. You do that. 8 times 1 is 8, plus 3 is 11, 11 eighths, there you go. But I want you to know why you're doing that. Remember, when you do 8 times 1, what you're saying is This one whole has 8 parts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 8/8. So you're multiplying 8 times 1, that's your 8/8. And then you're saying plus 3 more eighths. And that gives you 11/8. All right, we're gonna take a brain break, and it's gonna be time for a new segment called, oh, whoops, I'm not doing well. I'm not doing well on my sound machine. Here we go, here it is, drum roll. All right. Our new brain break section is math jokes. So bear with me on this. Let's see if I can bring us back. Hey, everybody. Math joke. So here it is. Here's my math joke for the day. Why was the student late to school? Assuming school was open. Why was the student late to school? Are you ready? Because she got on the wrong bus. I know, it's a dad joke, but it's pretty cool. If you don't know what a rhombus is, look it up online. It looks kind of like a smushed square. So look up rhombus, R-H-O-M-B-U-S. All right, let's get back to our math. We're gonna try another problem, and then we have our brain teaser before we go. So let me pull up our, I'm gonna come back to the work we were doing. And we did G, we did H. I'm now gonna scroll down. This is all from lesson 1, as you can see right here, lesson 1. And I'm gonna maybe, don't think you guys need to watch me while you're doing that, so I'll take that off. Okay, so we're gonna scroll down. This is the lesson 1 exit ticket. That's what you would normally do in class at the end of class before you go. And then here's some homework. Maybe today I'll assign some homework. Okay, homework. Now we are at lesson 2. So I do want to jump into lesson 2 and talk a little bit about some new things to think about. So what they're showing here is a tape diagram. Remember, a tape diagram is just an easy way to represent numbers, fractions, all kinds of different things. And let me pull up my annotation skills if I can figure that out. There it is. And here we go. Okay, so we see again, here's our whole, one whole, right? So this whole thing is our whole. And now what they're asking us to do is, can we turn it into a number sentence, which is very similar to what we were just working on. You'll see here there are 8 pieces, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So that means we're talking about eighths, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them are shaded. And so they're asking, can you show this in a number sentence in 3 different ways? Actually, they're showing, can you do it as a sum of unit fractions? Unit fractions are when you have the 1 over what the fractional part is, so 1/8. So if we show it with just unit fractions, 5/8 is the same as 1/8 plus 1/8 plus 1/8 plus 1/8 plus 1/8. And then they're saying, can you show it, can you do the decomposition? Remember, that's breaking it up in 2 more ways. So you'll see here they're showing 5/8 also is the same as 2/8 plus 2/8. So that would be 2/8. Oops, that was not a good circle. Let me do that again. 2/8 plus 2 more eighths plus, what does it say here? 1/8. Voila, that is another way to show 5/8. And then let's clear that off. Well, I'll use my eraser for that. This third one here is showing it in another way, which is 2/8. Okay, let's show that. Plus 1/8. Okay. plus 1/8, okay, plus 1 more eighth. And let's add that up. We have 2 here, plus 1 more is 3, plus 1 more is 4, plus 1 more is 5. There you go, 5/8. So now let's clear all this off. And what I would like to do is do that work. Let's do it a little bit. Let's do it a little bit fancier. Let's do B right here. We're gonna draw the tape diagram and record the decomposition. So here's what I'm gonna do. Let's draw it first. Now, the question is, what unit fraction are we talking about? It says 5/3, 5/3, thirds. Okay, that means we're talking thirds. Okay, I'm gonna draw our tape diagram. That looks pretty good. And we want thirds. So how many pieces do I break it up into to make thirds? Now this says 5/3, but should I break this up into 5 pieces? Well, the question becomes, if this is my whole, so let's call this our whole, and let me even type that. 1 whole, all right, this is our whole. So how many pieces would we have to break it up into? Well, it's thirds, and that means, you got it, 3 pieces. So I'm gonna try to do this pretty evenly. Ooh, that is not good. Let's do that again. That was actually pretty bad. Let me use this line thing. All right. Ooh, that was pretty good actually. All right, that's 1 whole. 1/3, 2/3, 3/3. That should make sense because 3/3 makes 1 whole. 1/3, and then another third, and then another third. There you go. But this says 5/3, so this is our whole, 3/3, and if we have 5/3, then we need 2 more thirds. So let's do this. I'm gonna make it in red just so we can kind of see the difference. And I am going to add on enough space to make 2 more of our thirds. Now remember, these pieces have to be the same size. These are also thirds. So here we go. 1/3 and 1/3. So there we have it. Here's our 1 whole. And you know what? I'm gonna change this to blue, or not. I'm gonna leave it alone because I'm not sure how to do that just yet. The point is, we have our 3/3 here that make our whole, and 2 more, which make 5/3. And now we can write this out in lots of different ways. We could write 1/3 plus 1/3 plus 1/3. This is the unit fraction way, plus 1/3 plus 1/3. That gives us our 5/3. Or what if we grouped it here and we did 3/3 plus, and then we grouped it here, 2/3. We could group it that way. Or let's go crazy. I'm gonna use pink. And let's say we grouped it like this. That's a group, and that's a group, and that's a group. Well, if we were using the pink grouping, then we would have 1, 2, 2/3, and then another one here, plus 1/3, and then another grouping here, plus 2/3. Again, this is different ways of decomposing, breaking up the fractions. And what we can see here, lots of different ways to make 5/3. We did 1/3 plus 1/3 plus 1/3 plus 1/3 plus 1/3. That was down here. We did 3/3 plus 2/3, and we did 2/3 plus 1/3 plus 2/3. All right, fantastic. We're just about out of time. Oh my gosh, that was a lot of fun for me. I hope it was interesting, and I hope you learned for you. Here's what I'm gonna do. I am assigning I'm gonna go to the homework. Here it is, lesson 2 homework. I would like you all to do, I will start off easy on you, my friends. Just do 1B and 1C, and we'll kick off our conversation tomorrow with 1B and 1C, and that's page 22, 1B and 1C. All right, before I go, I do want to make sure we do our final riddle before we close out. Let me see if I can make this work. Let's try this. Here we go. All right. I hope everybody sees that beautiful chocolate cake. Gosh, that does look really, really good. And I have not been eating carbs for a really long time, so it looks even better. Beautiful chocolate cake. Here is the riddle. Can you think of a way to cut this cake into 8 equal pieces? 8 equal pieces. So we're talking fractions, equal pieces. 8 equal pieces, but you can only use your knife to make 3 straight cuts. 3 separate straight cuts. So again, 8 equal pieces, and you can only use your knife to make 3 straight cuts. All right. Well, friends, that is, oops, that is episode 2 of Mr. K's 30 Minutes of Math. Thank you so much for joining in. Please let your friends know. I'd love to get as many people as we can. I'm going to try to figure out the chat function maybe tomorrow so we can do some questions and answers. If you have any feedback, shoot me an email at jkamras, K-A-M-R-A-S @rvaschools.net. I love fractions, and I hope you will too, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye, everybody.